Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping in for a pretty high-stakes critique, actually. Theological, emotional, it's got it all.
That's right. We're doing a comprehensive analysis of the TV show Lucifer, specifically focusing on its sixth and final season.
And we're working from this massive stack of notes, really detailed stuff from a dedicated viewer, someone who watched the whole thing start to finish and really picked apart what landed, what didn't, and, well, where maybe the show just kind of stumbled it.
Yeah, and if you know the show, the premise itself is just magnificently absurd, isn't it? Lucifer Morningstar, the actual devil, gets bored running hell.
As you do.
As you do. So he takes a vacation, opens a nightclub in L.A., and somehow ends up helping Detective Chloe Decker solve crimes.
It's like the ultimate version of that TV trope, the cop procedural with the weird partner, you know, cop and a vampire, cop and a writer.
Cop and a zombie, cop and a robot.
Right, and here it's cop and the devil himself, and it worked for a long time.
It really did. Okay, but let's get straight to the core argument from our source here. Season 6, it's seen as the weakest season.
Mostly because it wasn't supposed to exist, right? Season 5 was meant to be the end.
Exactly. They got this extra season, a bit of a surprise renewal, and the critique is clear. It's not like Game of Thrones Season 8 bad, not a total train wreck that ruins everything.
Okay, that's reassuring.
It is. But it definitely feels stretched. Like they were trying to wrap things up, but also had to invent new drama. And some of those inventions, well, they were controversial.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to unpack the characters that made it work for 5 seasons, really dig into those season 6 choices, the time travel, God's successor, all of it.
And figure out if, despite the bumps, the show managed to give us a satisfying ending. Did Lucifer, stick the landing emotionally, even if the plot got a bit messy?
Let's find out. Okay, before we dive headfirst into season subs and its issues, we need to establish why people loved this show for 5 seasons, what made it click.
Fundamentally, I think the source nails it. It boils down to casting and tone. And you have to start with Tom Ellis as Lucifer.
Oh, absolutely. He was the show.
Completely.
Yeah.
The charm, the wit. He could be genuinely funny, almost childlike in his understanding of humans sometimes. But then
he'd flip that switch.
Exactly. She'd straighten up that posture, the look in his eyes, and you absolutely believe this was the ancient, powerful, intimidating devil. He could be both. And that duality was just captivating.
And a huge part of that character and the show's unique tone was the therapy aspect. The devil has a therapist.
Dr. Linda Martin. Their sessions are kind of the show's philosophical engine room, aren't they? It's often played for laughs, definitely.
Lucifer misunderstanding everything.
Right, or paying her in like ancient artifacts or favors instead of cash. But it's also where the show explores his flaws. The source notes how frustrating he is as a patient. He listens. He seems to get it.
And then he goes right back out and makes the exact same mistake.
Week after week. It's celestial narcissism based, but it sets up his whole journey, the need for genuine growth.
Okay, let's talk about the ensemble. Chloe Decker, the detective, she's the anchor.
She really is.
Yeah.
The necessary, straight woman to Lucifer's chaos. The source points out she hits a lot of standard cop cliches. Dad was a cop, died on the job, that whole thing.
I still liked her.
Oh, totally. She's inherently lovable, and she has the patience of a saint putting up with Lucifer's nonsense, especially early on. Remember how long he just called her detective?
Yeah, like she wasn't even a person, just a function.
Exactly. Her journey to trusting him and him learning to see her is central.
Then there's Lucifer's brother, Amenadiel.
Amenadiel's arc is fantastic. He starts off feeling like the villain, very stern, all about forcing Lucifer back to hell, restoring order.
The dutiful son.
Right. But he evolves so much. He starts to understand humanity, even admire it. And his friendship with Dan Espinoza becomes this really grounding, wonderful part of the show.
Ah, yes, Dan. Detective Douche.
Yeah.
Let's spend a minute on him, because his journey is apparently key to the highs of season 6.
It absolutely is. Dan was initially designed for you to hate him, pretty much.
Right.
Chloe's annoying ex, Lucifer's rival, kind of a jerk sometimes.
But he changed.
Massively. He became this really complex, genuinely good guy. The source highlights a specific moment. I think it involved a corrupt ex-partner where Dan could have let Lucifer take the fall.
Even though he hated Lucifer at the time.
Deeply hated him. But he didn't. He saved him because it was the right thing to do. He wouldn't compromise his own morals, even for someone he despised. That defined him.
Which makes Lucifer constantly treating him like dirt, like a punching bag, even more frustrating. That's a consistent critique in these notes.
It really is. It undercuts Lucifer's own supposed growth sometimes because he just keeps dumping on Dan, even when Dan is clearly showing his decency over and over.
Okay, and rounding out the core group, Ella Lopez, the forensic scientist.
The ray of sunshine.
Definitely. Always cheerful, the fun t-shirts, the hug.
Probably the most purely lovable character. Super devout, which creates this amazing irony later on. And she serves this crucial narrative function. She's the last one to find out the truth.
The celestial secret.
Yeah. Everyone else is in the know about angels, demons, God being real, all of it. And Ella, the most religious one, is just oblivious. It's great for comedy, great for tension. She's the heart of the human element,
And underpinning all these characters and their stories is this core piece of show mythology, self-actualization.
Yes. This is so important to how the show works. Angels, demons, celestial beings, they essentially shape their own reality, their own powers, based on their beliefs about themselves.
It's not fixed.
Not entirely. They self-actualize. So Amenadiel might lose his wings or powers if he felt unworthy, or regain them if he believed he deserved them. It's psychological almost.
And for Lucifer, this tied directly into his relationship with Chloe, specifically his vulnerability around her.
Exactly. Why was he suddenly mortal, bleedable, only when she was near? The show established it was a choice. His subconscious.
He chose to be vulnerable.
Essentially, yes. It was his way of showing his love, of lowering his defenses for her. It was a really powerful, unique bit of mythology about their connection. And as we'll get into, the source argues season 6 didn't handle the resolution of that very elegantly.
Right, that sets the scene perfectly. So season 6 kicks off right after the big season 5 finale. God's retired. Lucifer fought his brother Michael, won the angelic war.
And is now technically the new god, king of heaven, ruler of the universe, all that jazz.
So what's his first act as the Almighty?
He procrastinates massively. For the first chunk of the season, he's just constantly dodging the coronation, avoiding actually taking the throne.
Why? He won the war for it.
He's terrified and unsure. The source suggests he's acting, well, kind of dumb, because he genuinely doubts he can care enough about everyone, about all of humanity to be God. Can he handle being all-knowing, all-caring? Huge weight.
Okay, so it's rooted in character, not just plot stall.
Mostly, yeah. It feels like a plausible fear for him, even if it's a bit of a regression. But amid all that stalling, the viewer did appreciate some small details showing growth.
Like what?
Little thing, like how he consistently calls Chloe by her name now. Chloe, not detective. It's subtle, but it shows how far their personal relationship has come. They feel like a real couple. The writers kept that consistent.
That's good. And there was that detail about magic shows.
Oh, yeah, that was a great little character insight. Lucifer, being this ancient angel, basically knows everything already. Divine being, product of creation, etc.
So nothing surprising?
Pretty much. Except apparently magic show, stage magic. It's the one place where he can still experience genuine surprise, not knowing how the trick is done.
And he's clinging to that feeling before he becomes literally omniscient as God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A really clever, understandable reason for him to enjoy something seemingly trivial. Great character, Dee.
Okay, so while Lucifer is dragging his feet, we get a new main character, Detective Carol Corbett.
Right, and he becomes Ella's love interest, which apparently Dan had tried to set up back in season 5 before. Well before.
And Carol is actually likable. Sometimes new characters brought in late can feel disruptive.
No, the source says he's great. He completely avoids the usual cliche. Chloe's not a detective anymore.
Yeah.
So the new guy could easily come in and be territorial, pull rank, tell her to stay out of it. But Carol doesn't. He basically says, look, I know your reputation. You're amazing. Let's just work together. Don't go behind my back. Let's collaborate.
That's refreshing, respectful.
Totally. It made him instantly fit in with the core group's dynamic. A welcome addition.
And Lucifer tries to use Carol for God practice.
Oh, this is peak Lucifer absurdity. He gets this idea that to be God, he needs to learn to care about people he doesn't already care about. Practice empathy on strangers.
Okay.
So he picks Carol as his test. He decides he's going to strategically maneuver Carol and Ella into a relationship. If he can manage their lives, maybe he can manage humanity's.
How does that go?
Predictably terrible, because in the process of trying to manipulate them from a distance, Lucifer actually starts to genuinely like Carol. He finds him endearing.
So his experiment is ruined because he developed actual feelings.
Exactly. He throws his hands up like, it's ruined. I care about him now. Classic Lucifer. Charming, means well, slightly idiotic, and ultimately fails because of his own developing heart. It's quite funny, actually.
Okay, but before things really take a turn, there was another plot thread focusing on Lucifer's potential as a healer, right? Involving someone from the very first episode.
Yes, Jimmy Barnes, the music producer whose murder Chloe was investigating when she first met Lucifer, and who Lucifer indirectly caused to go mad. He was trapped in his own hell loop.
Right. And Lucifer decides he needs to help him.
Yeah, Lucifer gets it into his head that maybe he can help this guy break out of his loop, find peace, maybe even ascend. It's like a test run for a different kind of purpose, not just punishing souls, but healing them.
That sounds really compelling, a direct confrontation with his past actions and a potential new path.
It was. Great concept. But here's where the source notes a big jarring issue. Production problem. They couldn't get the original actor back.
Oh, How did they handle that? Recast?
Worse, apparently. They did this bizarre animated sequence inside the hell loop.
Animated, like a cartoon.
Yeah. The justification was supposedly that cartoons were Jimmy's childhood escape, so his hell manifested that way. But the critique is that it just felt weird. Too stupid, I think, was the phrase used. Took you right out of the moment.
That sounds incredibly awkward. Did the story still work?
The core idea survived, thankfully. Despite the animation, Lucifer does connect with the guy's guilt, sees his suffering, and genuinely wants to help him find peace. It plants that seed of Lucifer potentially being more than just Hell's Warden, so the emotional beat lands, even if the execution clumsy.
Okay, so we have some solid character moments, Lucifer grappling with godhood, a good new character, seeds of a new purpose. What was the big problem? What derailed season 6?
One word. Rory?
Lucifer's daughter.
From the future. Yep, the time travel plot. She shows up full of teenage angst, wings that are literally blades, and she's traveled back in time specifically to kill Lucifer.
Sounds like a sharp turn.
It was. The source calls it a terrible idea and the definition of a shoehorn. Like the writers suddenly needed a big flashy sci-fi conflict and just jam time travel in. Unfavorable comparisons were made to, like, The Flash season 5.
Okay, not a great sign. And her motivation is abandonment.
Pretty much. She claims Lucifer abandoned her and Chloe wasn't even there when Chloe was dying in the future. Classic angsty teen trope, but with time travel and wings.
Logically, yes. That's the immediate critique. She storms in yelling, "Don't pretend you don't know me."
Yeah.
You can't know her. She hasn't been born. The premise requires her to be furious about something he hasn't done yet and couldn't possibly remember.
That sounds shaky.
Very. And what makes it even weaker, according to the source, is how quickly the main threat dissolves.
She gives up trying to kill him. Almost immediately. Once she sort of realizes he's genuinely clueless about her existence, the whole "I'm here to kill my dad" thing fizzles out.
So what's left? What does the season become about then?
It shifts entirely. Instead of Lucifer figuring out how to be God, the main plot becomes Lucifer trying to win over his grumpy, time-traveling teenage daughter.
Oh,
yeah. The source says it just descends into stupid thing after stupid thing. Lucifer throwing awkward parties for her, trying forced bonding activities, generally being clueless about parenting a time paradox. The focus shifts completely away from the established celestial stakes to this much smaller, arguably weaker family drama. That derailment is pinpointed as the season's biggest fail. And what makes that derailment, that focus on Rory, particularly frustrating is that it seems to have come at the direct expense of other, potentially much more interesting storylines that were set up earlier in the...
Like what? Which plots got sidelined?
The big one mentioned in the critique is the Amenadiel cop storyline.
Right. He decided he wanted to become a police officer, follow Dan's path in a way. I remember being really invested in that.
It had so much potential. He joins the academy, he's on the street, and he immediately starts running into the same kind of systemic issues Dan dealt with. Specifically, he encounters this one detective.
The racist one. The cartoon bad guy, as the source called him.
Yeah, a character promoted from a previous season, apparently. And Amenadiel, being Amenadiel, notices things aren't right. He sees inconsistencies at crime scenes, things being brushed under the rug.
And it wasn't just about one bad apple, was it? It hinted at something bigger.
Exactly. It wasn't just one bad cop. Amenadiel's digging, combined with Chloe using her old detective instincts and contacts, leads them to look into the lieutenant overseeing that precinct.
And what do they find?
Something huge. The lieutenant has apparently been systematically burying complaints against officers. Dozens and dozens of complaints, including against the obvious bad guy detective. Yeah. Just ignored, vanished.
Wow. Okay, that's a setup for a massive internal affairs, police corruption storyline. Grounded, relevant.
Totally. You've got Chloe back in her element doing detective work. You've got Amenadiel trying to bring his sense of justice to the human world, dealing with real-world complexities.
Yeah.
It could have explored institutional corruption, the challenges of reform. So much potential.
And what happened to that plot?
Poof, gone. Completely dropped. Introduced, set up with all this potential, and then just abandoned. Never mentioned.
To focus on the time-traveling daughter.
Seems that way. And that choice, dropping a compelling, grounded, character-driven plot for the high-concept sci-fi angle, is a major point of criticism, a huge missed opportunity.
Okay, so that's a definite look. But running alongside all this, we had Dan's ghost story, which, despite some hiccups, apparently ended up being a high point.
Yeah, this is where the season really delivered, according to the source. Dan's final arc was handled incredibly well, ultimately. So remember, he died at the end of season 5.
Right. Tragic.
And now he's a ghost, stuck on Earth. He can't ascend to heaven because he has unresolved guilt, but Lucifer decreed he shouldn't be tortured in hell either. So he's just stuck, miserable.
But the source mentions some idiocy with his ghost appearances first.
Oh yeah. Initially, only Amenadiel can see or hear him. And Dan, for some reason, repeatedly tries to have these long, involved conversations with Amenadiel in public, surrounded by other people like Chloe or Maze who can't see him.
Making Amenadiel look crazy.
Exactly. Poor Amenadiel, this dignified angel, is forced to talk to thin air, responding to Dan's invisible aunt. It made him look like a psychopath and just felt like really forced, unnecessary comedy. That part was frustrating.
But the core of his arc, figuring out his guilt, that worked.
Beautifully. The season explores what's holding him back. Is it past corruption, mistakes? But the ultimate revelation is much more human.
What was it?
His deepest regret, the thing causing his guilt, wasn't really about his job failure. It was the feeling that he hadn't been a good enough father, a good enough role model for his daughter, Trixie. She meant everything to him.
Okay, so how does he resolve that as a ghost?
This was brilliant. He manages to possess the body of Vincent Lamech, the mercenary who actually killed him.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the source specifically praises the actor playing Lamech for perfectly capturing Dan's mannerisms, his way of speaking, everything. It was uncanny.
So Dan, in his killer's body, gets to talk to Trixie.
He does. It's this incredibly moving, vulnerable scene. He needs her forgiveness, her validation, and Trixie, bless her heart, tells him he was the best dad. She says his mistakes taught her it's okay to mess up as long as you learn from it.
Oh, wow.
That acceptance, that love from Trixie, it resolves his guilt, it frees him, and in that moment, he finally ascends to heaven. We even see him later, happily reunited with Charlotte Richards up there.
Okay, that does sound like a really well-handled, satisfying conclusion for his character.
Absolutely. The source calls it the emotional high point of the season.
Right.
So you have this contrast again, a really powerful earned character resolution for Dan, happening right alongside the baffling abandonment of Amenadiel's compelling cop plot. Season 6 was definitely a mixed bag.
Let's talk about loose ends and quick fixes. The show had some long-running mysteries. 2 big ones got resolved in season 6. Apparently, not very well. First, Lucifer's vulnerability around Chloe.
Yeah, this one seems to have really irked the sword. This whole mystery, why does being near Chloe make the devil vulnerable, was central to their relationship for years. It caused tension, danger, physical pain sometimes.
So how did they finally explain it?
With a single line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Basically just dropped in as exposition completely out of the blue.
What was the explanation?
It was something like, now that Lucifer has fully, truly accepted his love for Chloe, consciously and subconsciously, he no longer needs to manifest that love by choosing to be vulnerable around her. So the vulnerability just stopped.
That sounds incredibly and kind of vague.
Exactly. The critique is that it felt like a total cop-out. After seasons of buildup, exploring the physical and emotional implications of this connection, to just hand-wave it away with a line about acceptance magically fixing it. It felt cheap. It didn't respect the weight the show had given that plot. A major letdown.
Okay, that does sound weak. What about the other big one? Ella finally finding out the truth about the whole celestial side.
This should have been huge, right? Ella, the devout Catholic, the ray of sunshine, finally learning her boss is the devil. Her friends are angels and...
It had the potential for amazing character moments. How did they handle it?
Poorly, according to the source. The main issue wasn't that she found out, but how. There was no process shown.
What do you mean?
Ella is a forensic scientist. She deals with evidence, deduction. The viewer wanted to see her putting the pieces together. Maybe a scene with her infamous deduction board, mapping out all the weird stuff she's witnessed over the years, the impossible physics, Lucifer surviving shootings, Amenadiel's weird pronouncements, show her figuring it out.
But instead...
Instead, she just suddenly knew. And the way she reveals she knows is the absolute worst cliche.
Oh, no.
She gets drunk at Maisie's wedding, corners them, and hits them with the classic dreaded line. How could you not tell me you didn't trust me?
The betrayal trope?
Yes.
Yeah.
The kind of manufactured drama you expect from, like Smallville or maybe Invincible, where someone feels betrayed because their friends kept a massive secret. It felt really beneath Lucifer and Ella's character.
And while she's drunk and confronting them, she mentions signs of the apocalypse.
Oh, this part is wild. Yeah, she's rattling off things she's noticed that seem apocalyptic, like frogs raining from the sky.
Okay.
An increase in missing socks from laundromats.
Wait, missing socks? Seriously?
Apparently. And then, almost casually, she mentions that a river nearby suddenly turned blood red.
Hold on. Frogs raining down is weird. Socks are silly. But a river of blood, shouldn't that be the headline? Why is that buried in the list after missing socks?
Right. It just highlights how bizarrely the scene was handled. And the actual cause of these apocalyptic signs makes it even more frustrating because it leans into that season 6 theme of, well, idiocy.
He's being idiotic now.
The angels.
Yeah.
Turns out, with God retired and Lucifer delaying his ascension, the angels decided to start answering prayers themselves.
Okay.
You'd think. But they're answering the most random, trivial, sometimes dangerous prayers imaginable.
Yeah.
Like some guy in prison prays he could see his pet lion again, so poof, they teleport a lion into his cell.
Oh, dear.
Or a little girl prays the ocean would turn into Kool-Aid. They're basically cosmic monkeys with wish-granting powers, causing chaos because they have no oversight or common sense.
So the apocalypse is just angels being irresponsible.
Pretty much. It completely deflates any potential tension or mystery around the strange events Ella noted. It's played for quick, cheap laughs at the expense of the angels' competence and, frankly, the season's overall coherence. Again, just contributing to that feeling of stupid thing after stupid thing.
It does sound like the season struggled with maintaining narrative integrity when going for jokes or...
That's definitely the core critique coming through. When your smartest characters consistently act dumb for plot reasons or a minor gag, the whole thing starts to feel shaky.
Were there any other minor subplots worth mentioning before we get to the absolute end? Adam showing...
Oh, right. Adam, as in the Adam Eve's ex. He crashes Maze and Eve's wedding preparation. He's basically written as one big joke about toxic masculinity, very primitive, obsessed with...
Sounds potential.
It could have been, but they handled it quickly. He briefly kidnaps Dr. Linda, thinking she knows some secret to winning Eve back or something.
And Linda being Linda.
She basically therapists him into submission. She doesn't need rescuing. She psychoanalyzes him until he has a breakthrough about his own insecurity. It was actually kind of a clever, very Lucifer-esque way to deal with a potentially problematic character quickly and humorously.
Okay, that sounds better. And Linda writing her book.
Yeah, she decides to write a book about her experiences counseling the devil and his celestial family. This leads to a clip show episode.
The classic clip show. Love 'em or hate 'em.
The source leaned towards hate 'em on this one. While clip shows can be fun nostalgia trips, this one apparently felt poorly executed. The clips weren't well contextualized, it didn't really tell a coherent story, and in a final season already juggling too many plots, it just felt like padding. Unnecessary filler when time was precious. All right, let's get to the end game, the final resolution. And it's really a mix, isn't it? A highly criticized wrap-up to the Who Will Be God plot, but then a really powerful conclusion for Lucifer's personal journey.
Okay, start with the succession. Lucifer won the war. He's supposed to be God, but he stalled, and then
he just quits. He basically announces kind of sheepishly, you know what, I don't actually want this job. I don't think I ever really did.
After people died for him.
Exactly. That's the huge problem the source has with this. It retroactively kneecaps the stakes of season 5. Dan died fighting for Lucifer's succession. The angel Remiel died. They had a full-blown celestial civil war over this, and then Lucifer just goes, nah, changed my mind. It feels like a massive betrayal of the previous season's drama.
So, if not Lucifer, then who becomes God?
Amenadiel steps up.
Right.
Which, in a way, makes sense. He was the angel's preferred candidate before the war started. He's shown growth, wisdom.
It feels logical for his character arc.
It does. He accepts the role, becomes the new god. The critique isn't really that Amenadiel is a bad choice. It's the path to get there. After all that bloodshed and sacrifice for Lucifer's claim, only for the original backup choice to take the throne anyway, it makes the entire war feel pointless. Sloppy execution.
Okay, so the God plot resolution felt weak. Now, the other major the Rory time travel pair. The source hated this part.
Hated it. Called the resolution horrible. This is where we find out why Lucifer supposedly abandoned Rory and Chloe in the future. It's a closed-loop time paradox. The worst kind, according to this critique. Lucifer has to abandon Rory in the past so that she grows up angry enough to travel back, which ensures the events happen that lead to her needing to travel back.
Oh, wow. So time travel happened because time travel happened.
Exactly. It's deterministic. It removes free will. Lucifer doesn't choose to leave his dying partner and unborn child. He's forced to by the script of the paradox to make sure Rory comes back to ensure he leaves.
That sounds off for him as a character.
It really does. The source argues passionately against this kind of circular logic in time travel story. They much prefer the alternate timeline model you see in, say, Marvel or Dragon Ball Z, where choices create new futures rather than trapping characters in an unchangeable, predetermined loop.
Because this makes his big sacrifice, abandoning his family, not a choice at all.
Precisely. It's cosmic destiny forcing his hand. And for a character whose entire existence since falling from heaven has been about defying destiny and asserting free will, it feels like a fundamental betrayal of his core theme, a narrative failure.
Did the source suggest a better way to handle Rory's end?
Yes, a much simpler, more emotional. They suggested that when Rory returns to her future, having understood Lucifer didn't know her, Lucifer should have simply been there waiting for her.
He could have just waited out the time.
Or watched from a distance. He could explain he was always watching over her, respecting the timeline perhaps, but proving his love by being there the moment she returned. It allows for choice, for love demonstrated through patience, not through a cruel, illogical paradox.
That does sound much more satisfying. But okay, despite the paradox mess, Lucifer does find his real calling, right? The positive part of the ending.
Yes. This is where the season and the series ultimately lands on its feet. This is the triumph. Through helping Dan ascend and remembering his attempt with Jimmy Barnes and perhaps other unseen moments helping souls in hell, Lucifer has a revelation.
He finally understands what his father meant back in season 5.
Exactly. God told him hell no longer needed a warden. Lucifer didn't get it then, but he gets it now.
What does hell need?
It needs a healer.
A therapist.
A therapist. Lucifer realizes that all those frustrating, repetitive sessions with Dr. Linda weren't just about his growth. They were training him for his true purpose.
So he chooses to go back to hell, the place he hated.
He chooses it, not as its ruler, not as its torturer, but as its counselor. He dedicates himself to helping the damned souls confront their guilt, forgive themselves, and find their own way to heaven. It's a stunning, beautiful, full-circle moment, from rebelling against hell to choosing to return to save it.
Wow, that's powerful. And we see this in the epilogue.
We do. The final scenes show Lucifer in hell, set up like Dr. Linda's office, counseling souls, embracing this new role.
Anyone we know.
Yes. A great touchy scene counseling Reese Getty, Linda's reporter ex-husband from that really popular standalone filler episode about him figuring out Lucifer's identity. It connects everything beautifully, showing Lucifer helping these complex human souls he encountered.
Okay, that feels. And what about his goodbyes cast?
Also handled perfectly, according to the source. This was another major hype. Lucifer finally drops the jokes, the insults, the emotional walls. He has genuine, heartfelt, loving goodbyes with everyone. Linda, Maze, Amenadiel.
And Dan. Does he finally show Dan respect?
Crucially, yes. There's a moment where he acknowledges Dan in heaven, essentially tells him he's a good man who belongs there, dropping the detective douche persona entirely. It shows true growth and provides real emotional closure for those relationships.
So wrapping this all up, the final assessment seems pretty clear. Season 6 had these incredibly high highs. Dan's entire arc, Lucifer finding his ultimate purpose as hell's therapist, those final goodbyes.
Absolutely. Moments of real emotional power and thematic resonance, stuff that really worked and felt like a fitting end.
But it was dragged down significantly by some really questionable narrative choices, the whole Rory time travel paradox being the bigger.
That plus the completely dropped storylines, like Amenadiel's police corruption plot and just a general sense of characters sometimes acting out of character or, frankly, a bit stupidly to serve the plot.
So the verdict from our source is the show as a whole. Still good, maybe even Lucifer's final profound, but Season 6 itself.
It's the weak link, undeniably the bumpiest, something you kind of have to get through to appreciate the genuinely strong land.
And if the writers could take this critique and rewrite Sick, what's the preferred alternative?
Pretty straightforward, really.
Mm-hmm.
Ditch the Rory time travel plotline entirely. It caused more problems than it solved.
Then replace it with...
Focus on the stuff that was already working. Develop that Amenadiel and Chloe police corruption investigation. Make that the main plot driving the middle of the season. Let them uncover the conspiracy, face the challenges. It's grounded. It uses the ensemble well.
And Lucifer...
Have him find his calling more organic. Continue the thread started with. Jimmy Barnes. Have him actively try to help souls break out of their hell loops, maybe even some former antagonists. Let him discover his role as a healer through practice and action, not because a time paradox forces him into a specific future.
That sounds much cleaner, more focused. It plays to the show's strengths, the blend of procedural elements and celestial character drama.
Exactly. It would have avoided that feeling of desperation, needing a big sci-fi gimmick, and likely led to the same powerful ending for Lucifer, just via a more coherent path.
Okay, so looking at the big picture, for me, the most radical, most interesting idea to come out of this whole series, especially that ending, is the transformation of Lucifer's role, from warden to healer.
It's revolutionary within the show's context, isn't it? The idea that hell isn't just eternal punishment, but potentially a place for rehabilitation, that it needs a therapist, not just a jailer. That changes everything about how you view the afterlife in this universe.
It shifts the entire cosmic bureaucracy, moving away from simple, perhaps divinely mandated punishment.
Which Lucifer was essentially forced to administer for millennia.
Right, towards a system focused on healing, self-forgiveness, and redemption. A role Lucifer
It completely reframes his legacy. He goes from being the ultimate symbol of rebellion against divine authority to being arguably the ultimate agent of divine mercy. He chooses to serve by healing, not by...
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to really chew on after this deep dive.
If hell itself can transform, if its purpose shifts from pure warden-led punishment to healer-led rehabilitation, what does that really imply about the nature of justice versus mercy in this cosmology? Is divine justice fixed, or can it evolve towards compassion?
And how does Lucifer, by choosing this path, fundamentally redefine his own story, his own place within that celestial order? Going from fallen angel to hell's therapist, quite a journey.
A fascinating one to track.
Indeed. Well, thank you for guiding us through that incredibly detailed breakdown.
My pleasure. It was fun to revisit.
And thank you all for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.